partners discussing youth apprenticeship. I know that session is recorded, but it was wonderful. And we're happy to continue the conversation in this space around supporting youth pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs. As my colleague Pam Knapp of San Joaquin County's ARCH program would say, tomorrow's workforce is in today's classroom. And this rings true now more than ever as we see a significant investment in apprenticeship, specifically youth apprenticeship here in California and nationwide. My name is Chanel Brumfield. I am your Registered Apprenticeship Programs Director with ECEPTS, and I'll pass it to my colleague and fellow RAPS Director, Noemi, to introduce herself as well.
Very much. I couldn't mute myself. I was like, how do I let you know? Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, actually. And my name is Noemi Catalan. I am a Registered Apprenticeship Programs Director with ECEPTS. I have had the privilege to be working with ECE Apprenticeships and Workforce Development since 2018. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for joining us.
All right, thanks, Noemi. And it looks like more people have joined us since we initially got started. If you are just joining us today, we want to know who's in the room with us virtually. So feel free to add your name, title, organization, and if you are currently working with youth, and are you working with 16 to 18 or that 16 to 24 age range. And Sandra, can you advance next slide, please? All right, thank you. So during our time together, we'll discuss a little bit of information about ECEPTS, our organization, our mission, and the work we do to support the field and execute that mission. We'll also do some level setting and discuss what we mean when we say apprenticeship and the different entities that make up the partnership and apprenticeship committees involved in the apprenticeship work. We'll also discuss youth apprenticeship and provide an overview of the Oakland Unified School District pre-apprenticeship youth program. We'll also share some tips for designing and implementing an equitable and accessible ECE apprenticeship program while also centering equity. We will also share some examples of how Oakland Unified School District, or what we lovingly call OUSD because we love our acronyms, how this program has really implemented equity in their program design, their recruitment strategies, their partnership development, and how they're challenging the status quo as it relates to going about this apprenticeship work. We'll close out today's session with some Q&A and ways to stay connected to our work here at ECEPTS and other opportunities to learn about ECE apprenticeships. So without further ado, I'll pass it to Noemi to share more information about the work that we do here at ECEPTS.
Thank you very much, Chanel, for such a great overview. And as you can see, ECEPTS apprenticeship goes well beyond, ECEPTS mission goes well beyond apprenticeship. Our mission is to advance the rigorous professional development and economic well-being of those who teach, nurture, and support young children and families. From the beginning, we have made a commitment to build a professional development pathway that did not ignore the systemic barriers and challenges that have crippled our industry for decades. Therefore, there have been a lot of models for excellent professional development, but to ignore the economics of the situation was a way to undercut our value and our impact. Next slide, please. While ECEPTS is best known for our work with ECE apprenticeships, the work that we do actually falls into three buckets, with the first one being creating and expanding ECE apprenticeships, not only for the ECE workforce, but also for related subsectors, such as expanded learning program leaders and home visitors. Second is field building, which means that we strategically support the establishment of a national network that can support efforts to expand ECE apprenticeships and elevate the industry as a workforce development priority. In our efforts for advocacy, we promote family-sustaining wages and well-paid ECE career pathways by focusing on two essential principles. By achieving compensation parity with K-12, and I know that if you talk to any K-12 teacher, they'll tell you that they don't make enough money, and we do agree. However, they're certainly better compensated than early educators. And second, by securing sustainable public funding for the ECE system in the same way that K-12 is also funded. And also, the contract that we received this year from DOL will allow us to do everything that we have already been doing and to expand as a national industry intermediary for ECE with additional resources, capacity, and acknowledgement. Next slide, please. ECEPTS promotes apprenticeship because of its long and well-established record of success across many fields, and it is uniquely suited for ECE for a couple of reasons. First, research has firmly established that the teacher quality is a critical component for successful early learning experiences. And developing the skills, knowledge, and competencies of workers is the core and strength of the apprenticeship model. Therefore, it follows that high-quality apprenticeships would lead to high-quality teachers. And however, building high-quality registered apprenticeship programs based on models like ECEPTS models, it's hard, and it requires three simultaneous overlapping revolutions. First, a willingness to create and support dignified pathways to employment and career mobility that do not necessarily resemble traditional pathways. Second, ensuring that employers take an active role in contributing to building a talent pipeline and to investing differently in their workers. And third, by rethinking education and putting value on skills and learning outside of the classrooms. And now that we have learned a little bit about why ECE apprenticeships are so well suited for the ECE workforce, I'm going to pass it back to my colleague Chanel to talk a little bit with you about the apprenticeship system.
Okay, so how does registered apprenticeship help to ensure teacher quality? Well, it's more than just a training program. It's a holistic approach to credentialing that includes both instruction and work-based learning experience. The definition on this slide captures the essence of registered apprenticeship, but its simplicity can create the impression that establishing a registered apprenticeship is easy work, and it's much more complex than that. I'm sure some of our partners on today that are currently developing their apprenticeship program or seeking to develop an apprenticeship program will probably share the same sentiment. What folks don't understand is that deciding to get involved with ECE apprenticeships means that you're breaking into a complicated, well-established national system with rules, regulations, expectations, history, culture, and guardrails. It's not just substituting the word apprenticeship in place of other work-based learning models, such as internships or residencies or just a training program. So let's talk a little bit more in depth about what distinguishes a registered apprenticeship from other training models. Next slide, please. So this really lays out the different components of a registered apprenticeship program. So first, we have paid jobs that are aligned with meeting workforce needs of employers. So we understand that there is no such thing as an unpaid apprentice. Apprenticeships are paid positions. Also, work-based learning that supports career readiness and advancement. There's a minimum qualification for work-based learning, such as a minimum of 2,000 hours of supervised on-the-job training. Another component of registered apprenticeship is classroom learning, or what we like to call related supplemental instruction or related technical instruction, and that's the formal training portion of the apprenticeship program. One thing I would like to note is that an apprenticeship, on-the-job training, or OJT, and RSI are of equal significance. They both are required, and that's part of what makes registered apprenticeship a unique approach to job training. Another component of a registered apprenticeship program is mentorship. Mentorship helps with the retention of novice trainers or novice teachers and preserves and encourages the passing along of experience and information of a senior seasoned instructor to more novice teachers. Industry recognized credentials are also a key component of a registered apprenticeship program. For our programs in California, that means a child development permit. But for people joining from other states, that might include a CDA or a bachelor's degree. So ECEPTS, according to this slide, ECEPTS thinks that these components are the lowest common denominator. But one thing that I wanted to note in a significant change is that DOL has updated its core program components with 2 additional areas that are in alignment with our ethos as an organization, and that's including diversity and quality and safety. So when we say diversity, as it relates to this registered apprenticeship program, we're saying that programs are designed to reflect the communities in which they operate through strong non-discriminatory recruitment practices to ensure access, equity, and inclusion. And as it relates to quality and safety, we're saying that apprentices are afforded worker protections while receiving rigorous training to equip them with the skills that they need to succeed and the proper training and supervision they need to be safe. So ECEPTS in our model incorporates all of these different components, and we continue to build upon and expand them. Next slide, please. So there's a proverb that we say in the work that we do with our partnerships, which is, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And we know that apprenticeship takes work and the work of many partners to launch and sustain a quality program. So this slide shows a composition of the registered apprenticeship partnerships, also called committees in DOL language. This slide is both a general picture and a description of ECEPTS RAPS partnerships. So although the only required partners are employers and colleges, RSI providers, and labor if your employers are unionized, we think more is needed. So we are bringing together 3 systems such as the ECE system, Institutes of Higher Education, and workforce development in the registered apprenticeship system. But in addition to that, we also believe that our stakeholders are important partners, such as our funders and the community in which we're developing these registered apprenticeship programs. In building and guiding a RAPS partnership, our overarching goal is to empower them to develop and implement a great RAP, as well as design a program that meets the needs of the employers and the workers or apprentices. We also believe that advocating for institutional policies to ensure access and equity are also key and one of our overarching goals. In this apprenticeship space, ECEPTS serves as both an industry intermediary and a program sponsor as well. In our work of working with these different partners or the partnerships, there's intensive ongoing technical assistance and training to offer our industry expertise and also move programs and partnerships through idea to implementation, which takes about roughly 6 to 12 months. We also help support our partners, our RAP partners, to learn more about navigating some of these unfamiliar systems and establishing partnership amongst them and community as well. So helping our partnership to identify additional partners and engage the right partners around the table as you design and implement programs and think about sustainability and scale. We also, in collaboration with our partners, assist with program design, help to think through recruitment, outreach, selection, and enrollment strategies of the populations that you're hoping to serve, as well as support long-term expansion and sustainability. And we also really like to help our partners with identifying new funding streams and maximizing resources to help achieve that expansion and sustainability goal. As a sponsor, we assume the responsibility for the administration and operation of the apprenticeship program. We'll discuss how Oakland Unified School District has structured their RAPS partnership to support the youth apprentices in their program and the role each partner plays in the program. Next slide, please. So on this slide, you'll see these are all the different programs that ECEPTS currently sponsors. Since 2019, ECEPTS has registered 5 apprenticeships, 3 levels for educators, home visitors, and expanded learning program leaders, which is our newest one. We also sponsor a registered pre-apprenticeship program to provide job readiness and academic training for folks who may not yet be qualified to meet the minimal qualifications for entry-level positions. And we also sponsor a registered OJT program for FCCs. And finally, most importantly, we have a youth apprenticeship program for high school students interested in careers working with children and working with families. So Oakland Unified School District's Oaktown Leaders Program is one of our youth pre-apprenticeship programs. However, we're also working on continuing to build a pipeline within the district and approaching our work through a student-centered, equity-centered lens. I'll now pass it to Noemi to share, what we mean when we refer to centering equity and access and how this shows up in our work with partners like Oakland Unified School District.
Thank you. So like Chanel mentioned, ECEPTS has been working with apprenticeships in one way or another over the past 9 years, and our model has been developed over the past 9 years as well. And the development of the ECEPTS model has happened with the experience that we have acquired by working with about 500 apprentices. And all of these apprentices represent the children's, the families that are being served in their communities that they're located at, and also the cultural, linguistic, socioeconomic diversity that it's the hallmark of the ECE workforce. The Center for the Study of Childcare Employment quote that you see on the screen right now captures our guiding principle with respect to equity and access. At ECEPTS, we recognize that the biases and barriers reside with systems and not individuals. Recently, our executive director shared an example that we all thought was very fitting to this quote. And she was saying how sometimes some high school teachers will blame middle school teachers for student outcomes, and middle school teachers will blame elementary school teachers, and elementary school teachers will blame preschool teachers, and preschool teachers will say, it's the parents. And then the parents will say, we're not getting the support that we need to set our kids for success. But what we're really trying to say is that it's not us looking who to blame, but rather looking at the systems and making sure that we are challenging the system to meet the needs of our apprentices. And the ECEPTS model might not be for everyone for different reasons, and it's not easy. And we say a really high bar of expectations in terms of working with people who can authentically collaborate through the same equity lens and centering student success. Also, this ECEPTS partners are choosing to engage in a problem-solving, solution-oriented program. And so we are agreeing to challenge historic systemic challenges that have made access to education and employment opportunities out of reach for so many in the populations that we're trying to serve, and populations that predominantly represent the ECE workforce. Next slide, please. And what does that mean in practice? So in practice, we are right now showing you 5 strategies that we think are key to ensuring that the apprentices are being successful in our ECE apprenticeship programs. And one, it's to understand and address the unique needs and challenges faced by the ECE workforce. We know that the ECE workforce is one of the lowest compensated workers in the country. And we know that most of them are immigrants, most of them are parents, many of them are also women of color, and they have very unique challenges when it comes to accessing higher education pathways. We also have to have a willingness to challenge the status quo, and that means rethinking the ways that we have been doing things, because if we want different results, we also have to be innovative in how we're making these outcomes happen. And we also have to remember that inequity results in racial, cultural, and socioeconomic disparities in terms of access and success in higher education, and also access to positions of greater influence and higher wages in ECE. And third, like I said before, we firmly center student success in concrete and effective ways, and we do so by challenging the systems and the barriers that we find within those systems, and being very intentional and strategic about what we do and how we do it. Next, we also reimagine job training and professional development. You heard my colleague Chanel share briefly before that apprenticeships really only require employers, but in the case of ECEPTS, we also incorporate or integrate community colleges, because we are in the realm of education, and the training or the supplemental instruction that the apprentices are receiving have to be credit bearing, so that the apprentices are receiving degrees through these programs as well. And so apprenticeship really provides a unique opportunity for apprentices to integrate work experience with education. In a traditional pathway, sometimes students will go to college first and then join the workforce, or vice versa. But apprenticeship really offers a unique opportunity for integrating professional development with higher education. And we talk to our partners, and we acknowledge that employers and colleges are equal partnerships in this work, and we work together, integrated and not in silos. Lastly, we adopt a no-fail philosophy. And when we say no-fail philosophy, we don't necessarily put this on the apprentices' shoulders, but rather we are putting it on ourselves to ensure that what we're doing is supporting to set up the apprentices for success. We do not have the option or the luxury for letting our apprentices fail, especially considering the crisis level staff shortage that the United States is experiencing right now. The attrition rate on a national scale across all apprenticeships is 40%. And if we are to really reach the goal of retaining our students, we also have to be very intentional about how we work. And ECEPTS aims to maintain a minimum of 75% retention rate. And like I said before, the ECE workforce includes large numbers of recent immigrants, working mothers, first-generation college students who face challenges and barriers to success. And ECEPTS is adapting the traditional apprenticeship model to meet the unique needs of this workforce. In particular, ECEPTS incorporates research-based participant supports and services that support retention. And these supports, which are not inherently part of all apprenticeship programs, distinguish the design and success of the ECEPTS model. I'll pass it back to my colleague Chanel to further discuss the ECEPTS model.
Cool. Thank you, Noemi. So some of the research-based supports that Noemi just alluded to are here on the screen. We know that embedding these supports into the program helps to not only support the apprentices while they're in the program, but helping them to get all the way through completion to get to their credentialing and go off into the field and be successful. So the first one I would like to talk about is the program being at no cost to participants. Apprentices do not acquire any debt or expenses as program participants. We support our partners in making plans to cover all program-related costs. So that includes thinking through strategies of what funding to use to support the program and structuring the program and working with partners to kind of sort out how we can make sure that we're removing some of those barriers for our apprentices. Also, we work with our colleges to establish flexible class location and scheduling. So we work with our colleges to ensure that access to courses are not a barrier to participation. And we also encourage colleges to provide courses in community-based settings as much as possible. ECEPTS engages employers and instructors in reflective conversations about the impact of online versus hybrid learning, and also thinking through things like course sequencing, timing, as well as location. Additionally, we help support our partnerships with mentoring. So thinking about mentoring and reflective feedback opportunities. We understand that mentoring allows apprentices to learn from seasoned early educators, and reflective feedback provides opportunities for apprentices to learn from their peers with similar lived experiences who can help them apply what they're being taught in the classroom to what they're doing in their on-the-job training experience. Additionally, we also engage with cohort learning, and we encourage cohort learning because we understand that being a part of a cohort gives apprentices a sense of belonging and community. They lean on each other for academic, professional, and personal support and find inspiration and motivation when they see their peers succeeding. We also encourage our different partners to have dedicated program staff. So partners are encouraged to hire staff who can relate to apprentices and support their success. The model also incorporates embedded tutors who sit in classrooms and really help students succeed, as well as success coordinators who ensure apprentices have access to the support services needed to be successful. We understand that there's additional supports that may be needed according to your individual program. So depending on the needs of the cohort, additional supports may include childcare services, transportation stipends, access to mental health support, and technology access and training. We'll discuss how these research-based supports have been embedded into the program and are part of the keys to success for OUSD so far. But I wanted to take a step back to kind of dig into how we got to the point of working with OUSD and what was the catalyst for them seeking pre-apprenticeship as a workforce strategy. Next slide, please. So as part of OUSD's 2021-24 strategic plan, Oakland Unified School District identified workforce as an area of focus. Specifically, their goal was to increase the number of Black and Brown staff that reflect the student populations of Oakland Unified School District. You'll see on this slide a side-by-side comparison of demographics that illustrate the need to increase a diverse workforce. As part of diversifying its workforce, the partners at Oakland Unified School District sought apprenticeship as a workforce strategy to increase and meet the goal of having a reflective staff. OUSD understood and recognized the individuals best suited to support OUSD schools are already in the community, such as OUSD alumni and current OUSD students. So in late 2022, Oakland Unified School District, specifically the members of the recruitment and retention team, joined ECEPTS Institute to begin the process of developing a pre-apprenticeship program aimed at serving Oakland Unified School District youth. I'll now pass it to Noemi to talk in depth more about program design.
Thank you. So now that a lot has been said about, why apprenticeship is important, why it is that Oakland Unified School District, next slide, please, Sandra, why Oakland Unified School District sought apprenticeship as a workforce strategy, I want to let you know about, in a very high level, because it took us, like Chanel said, about 6 to 8 months to put all of these pieces together, and it's a very high level overview. However, we do want to acknowledge that often these programs are very layered and there's a lot of nuances that come into play. So the partners in this partnership is Oakland Unified School District, and Oakland Unified School District is acting as an employer and as a lead agency. Berkeley City College is the supplemental instruction provider. That means they are the ones providing the coursework that the youth pre-apprentices are taking. And ECEPTS is working as an industry intermediary and also as a sponsor. So the program timeline, apprentices are going to be, it's a 2-year program. So apprentices are taking a 3-unit class per semester via dual enrollment through Berkeley City College. And so if they start in when they're juniors, that will mean that the first 6 credits they will take in that junior year, and the remaining 6 credits will be taken in their senior year. And during the summer, they're also going to be having work experience placements, and simultaneously, they will be taking a 1-unit work experience course through BCC. And you hear me say they will be, because this program really launched in August 2023. And so we haven't yet had the opportunity to be placing them in work experiences arrangements for now. And the idea is that they will have at least 150 plus hours of on-the-job training over the course of the 2 summers. Can you please go to the next slide, Sandra? Thank you. And so you heard Chanel talk about the ECEPTS model and how we integrate all of these additional supports in the program design. And one of those was the no cost to participants. Through this model, students are having access to free higher education. And so I think that they're already benefiting from it because they're not having to pay or worry about whether they're eligible for financial aid. And so that's one of the things that it's related to not cost to participants. And also they're receiving free textbooks, they're getting laptops, hotspots, bus passes, all of that through this program as well. And they have 2 success coordinators, they have access to an embedded tutor, and also an OUSD embedded teacher mentor. And this person comes to class and sits in the class and supports the students in taking notes and translating in some cases. So as you can see, there is definitely a crowd supporting the student success and who are dedicated to this program. And of course, we also have our course instructor who is very much familiar with the population that we're serving and who also understands the learning needs of youth students, right? Because right now they're taking college coursework, but the design has to be, you know, a little bit different from that of adults. And we also have the participant center on-the-job training. This means that during their summer placements, the youth apprentices will be placed through OUSD and potentially other employers in the community. And like I said before, they will be completing a minimum of 150 hours of on-the-job training. And they will also receive a stipend for their work experience. And I imagine you might be wondering how these stipends might be funded. And these stipends are going to be funded through ECEPTS is a grantee of a couple of foundations, and so we're sub-granting some of those funds to OUSD. And additionally, they're also accessing funds through their ECHO program and using them as a partner for these work experience placements in the summer. And we also have the Participant Center RSI. Students are part of a cohort, like you heard Chanel say. There are about 7 high schools represented. So we have students from 7 different high schools coming together in one specific location. And so they come as a group, even though they're at different high schools, and they are definitely a cohort, and they have the chance to engage with each other and talk about all of these, you know, new learnings that they're acquiring through their classes. And we have about 28 students right now that are active, and all of them have already been registered with the Division of Apprenticeship Standards in California as pre-apprentices. And also the schedule is, so the courses happen after school. So you know, that also requires them to commute after they're done with their day, and they come into this location. And the courses that have been designed for this program, like I said, are degree applicable. And so those are going to be transferable as well to 4-year universities and are also articulated to the California Child Development Permit Matrix. And so while they're also becoming qualified to be employed as early educators, they're also having the option to use these units towards an AABA degree later on if they continue to work on their higher education. And we also have embedded access to technology support and the college's student services, because even though they are high school students, they are also college students and have access to all of the support services that are offered through the colleges. And they also get support with technology. We heard before that they were having some challenges with accessing Canvas. Even though, you know, they're youth, you will think that they're pretty tech savvy, and they are, except navigating an online learning platform can sometimes be challenging. And while a lot of their instruction is happening in person, there's definitely some components that happen virtually that require them to log into Canvas and turn in assignments and posts and etc. So all of that is embedded within the design with that equity approach always at the forefront. Can you please go to the next slide, Sandra? Thank you. Okay, so like I said before, we have about 28 pre-apprentices right now, and 7 high schools are represented. Among them, we have Oakland High School, we have Street Academy, we have Coliseum, Oakland Tech, Skyline, McClymonds, Madison Park Academy, and Castlemonds. We have 16 juniors and 12 seniors in the group right now. So the seniors are really only, going to make it to the first milestone as a pre-apprentice because they're going to be graduating in May. Therefore, they're only going to be acquiring 6 credits through this program. However, by the time they graduate, they will be eligible to join other registered adult apprenticeships and continue with their education and continue in this pathway. That's what makes these pathways unique, because they're stackable. They're transferable not only to the next level, but we also have other apprenticeships in the community, such as for expanded learning program leaders and early educators. And so they have the opportunity to decide whether they want to continue focusing on ECE, or if they want to work with school-age children. That's also an option, because the coursework is also transferable into that one. And the goal is that upon program completion, they will have earned 12 ECE credits, be a dual enrollment, be eligible for a Child Development Associate Teacher Permit, which is issued by the California Commission on Teaching Credentialing, be eligible to join an adult apprenticeship in the community. And like I said before, we have the ECE teacher, we have the lead teacher apprenticeship, in which they will work to earn an AA and BA degree. And we also have the expanded learning if they wish to work with school-age children. And currently, ECEPTS is working with Berkeley City College and Oakland Unified School District to design an ECE apprenticeship for OUSD staff. Therefore, the population that we're targeting includes all of these pre-apprentice graduates, as well as incumbent OUSD staff, recent OUSD graduates, or new workers. And so that is also another option that they're going to have once they graduate. And however, while the OUSD's program is fairly new, a lot of learning has already happened, and Chanel is going to share with you a few challenges and keys to success that we have identified and experienced through this work.
Well, thank you, Noemi. Okay, so let's talk about some keys to success. First, we understand, and we talked a little bit earlier about the role that different partners play in making a program successful, and that's the case for OUSD. The OUSD partnership has collaborated across multiple departments in the school district, included their dual enrollment office, their link learning liaisons, their HR department, as well as partnering with staff across the 7 high schools involved in the apprenticeship program. The cross-collaboration has allowed for the partnership to tap into different areas of expertise and navigate challenges and identify critical considerations for program design and the support of apprentices. Because the apprentices have, their youth, so their parents definitely, or their support systems, are engaged in this process as well. So OUSD was intentional with engaging not only the students, but also connecting with their families to make sure that the families understood what the program expectations were, how they could support their students navigate the program. And the parents and families also wanted to understand the program and how it will impact the youth participating and some of the roles, responsibilities, and benefits of participating in the program. One highlight that we also wanted to note was OUSD's innovative approach to recruitment. We know that the youth population is heavily involved in social media. So OUSD tapped into resources such as Instagram and LinkedIn to get the word out about the program, and that ultimately impacted their ability to reach multiple youth across the district and really drum up interest into the program. Additionally, OUSD has offered classroom instruction in a centralized location for the 7 high schools participating because they wanted to remove barriers to access and identify a community location where the class location can be accessible for all. Some of the challenges that we wanted to note that we're learning along the way and we're going to address as we continue to think through the program and expand upon the program is providing the OJT during school hours. And what has come up is that, youth have commitments outside of school, commitments to family, commitments to extracurricular activities. So how do we continue to develop a program with that in mind and making sure that we are helping our youth participants establish work-life balance? Additionally, there are some equity issues around the work that we're doing. And some of that may include how can we be equitable and ensure access and support for all students, in particular, undocumented students? For example, there are some youth within the district that are undocumented, and there are some unique challenges that we need to navigate around this issue of equity so that we have parity for those students along with other students within the district. Additionally, similar to the success that we named as far as the classroom instruction location, is thinking through how can we continue to have an accessible location if the program expands beyond the current 7 high schools that are participating in the program. So those are challenges that have come up so far that we are actively working with Oakland Unified School District and others in the partnership to address, to make sure that we're continuing to center equity and success. Next slide, please. So we believe in a 4-pronged approach to equity. So we are choosing communities that are often overlooked with the most to gain. So OUSD has been intentional with their Grow Your Own approach to developing future early care educators in the district. The youth participants are existing OUSD students, and when they launch their teacher program, or OUSD launches their teacher apprenticeship program, they'll focus on recruiting members of the Oakland community, including OUSD alumni, current 12th graders, and incumbent workers. Also, in regards to apprentices, we want to make sure that we're contributing, or apprentices have the ability to contribute and add input into the program design and ongoing implementation. ECEPTS believes that it's important to embed a feedback loop into informing the program design and areas of growth. So we incorporate apprentice satisfaction surveys into our data collection process, and we understand that it's important for apprentice voice and input in design, and program participant input will help enrich the program, and it offers a perspective and different way of looking at how we can improve on our programs to serve all youth within Oakland Unified School District, which will ultimately benefit future cohorts. Additionally, we understand that personnel plays a key role in equity of program design. So really identifying key leaders and champions, screening and onboarding faculty to make sure that they understand and share the ethos of the partnership around centering equity and supporting the youth in the program. Because we understand that many partners are involved in the development and execution of the program, it's important to find like-minded partners aligned with your approach to centering equity. So one example of this is that OUSD has partnered with Berkeley City College in cross departments and identified dedicated program staff that can help support the apprentices. These partners meet monthly through the partnership to continue to improve the program and address some of the challenges that we previously named as they arise. And most importantly, our employers, finding like-minded employers that honor the equity lens and priorities. So employers who can essentially operate within the ECEPTS model and understand our importance of why we do the work that we do, and adjust their model to meet the needs of the apprentices to ensure that we have an apprentice-centered design and that these apprentices are successful beyond the program. Next slide, please. Okay, we are going to pivot to do some questions and answers, but we wanted to make sure before we closed out and engage in Q&A that we share some ways that you can stay connected with our work and upcoming learning opportunities. So one way is joining our mailing list via our website, and we'll put that in the chat. We encourage you all to please visit our website and join our mailing list. And as a member of our mailing list, you'll receive more information about upcoming events, funding opportunities, and other pertinent information related to ECE and apprenticeship. We also include information on our podcast episodes and new staff members that join our team to help support the work. We also have deep dives, which essentially is a part of our ongoing field building efforts. So ECEPTS is launching a new series of deep dive webinars, and these webinars focus on issues related to the creation, expansion, and sustainability of registered apprenticeship programs for early learning and childcare workforce. The information is geared to be useful and relevant for the field, whether you're doing work nationwide or initiatives in all stages of development. So we definitely encourage you all to join our deep dives, and you can find that information on our website as well. And as I mentioned, we have a podcast, and it's a 45-minute facilitated conversation with some of our partners and pioneers in the field, and it's a conversation facilitated by our founder, Dr. Randy Wolf. I'll now pass it to Noemi to share some exciting upcoming events.
All of that, and if you wanted to come see us in person and talk to us a little further, you can also talk to us and see us at our 3rd National Conference on ECE Apprenticeship, which will happen in May in Sacramento. And before then, we could also see you in Nashville. We are implementing these 2-day intensive training boot camps, and the upcoming one is in January. So the link is in the chat as well if you wanted to register, if you're even like curious to read a little bit more about that. And with that being said, I think we're going to transition into Q&A. Does anybody have any questions so far? What kind of on-the-job training will? Yeah, so they are having on-the-job training related to ECE settings. So the district has a few ECE centers, and students will be placed in those ECE centers and potentially be volunteers in the classroom. And if for whatever reason, we need to accommodate a different arrangement or a different placement, we will work with employers in the community to place these youth. But again, that will be in ECE settings. And what courses will they take? The courses that they're taking right now align with the California Child Development Permit Matrix. So these are courses that are going to not only meet that criteria, but also align with ECE degree pathways. And in terms of the summer, they're going to be taking a 1-unit work experience course in addition to their work experience placement. This work experience course basically gives them a little bit more skills on communication, just essential work skills, communication, professionalism, and resume building, interviewing skills, etc. Any other questions? You're welcome, Hannah. Any other questions coming up so far?
Feel free to, if you would like to come off mute, or feel free to also add your questions into the chat.
We must have done a really good job. How many employers are you currently working with? For right now, OUSD is our only employer, and we will expand as we see the need to do so.
I have a question for the group. Hello, everyone. Maybe you could say if someone was interested in starting a youth apprenticeship, some advice for them, some first steps? What would you say for the group that they should start to think about?
I'll let Chanel go first.
Oh gosh, what they should think about. Definitely, I would say start with your partnerships. There's so many people within the K through 12 system that these apprentices or youth come into contact with. So making sure that you have the right people at the table. So that's including your counselors, because the counselors definitely guide, a lot of the youth through their academic career and like on to the next phase. So making sure that you're looping in, the counselors, also looping in families. Families play a really big role in the development of the program. I know they're kind of like I don't want to say they're a silent partner, but they're a key partner because this is the community that will support the youth through the program. So making sure that you're tying them in and engaging the youth and the families together. Also, yes, definitely not only building your partnerships within the K through 12 system for the youth, but also your higher education partners to make sure that they have the capacity to not only help support in the design of the program, but understanding the course sequencing of the course. So I would say, I would definitely start with developing your partnerships, making sure that you've identified your key champions in your K through 12 system or adult education system, because we know that there's some opportunity youth that are connected there. So I would say definitely start with your partnerships. And I think Noemi, you're.
Yeah, engaging with Lauren in the chat. Engaging with somebody in the chat. She's asking how we may support other employers. And I think that to give you a better answer, we might have to talk a little bit more about that through email, because right now, we have to assess our capacity and etc. And there is definitely a way to continue to work with us. So if you can please send us an email and we can talk a little bit more about that. I think they email, Barbara, should they email ECEPTS@ECEPTS.org or?
Yes, they can email ECEPTS@ECEPTS.org. A few of us get that and we reply accordingly. Yes.
Okay,
I'll
thank
put
you
it
very
in the
much.
chat.
So if you're interested in working with us or have any specific questions that are, unique to your partnership or goals, then please email us and we'll get in touch with you. And Sandra, okay. Currently though, we have about 50 employers. That's the second half to my previous answer. So OUSD is our only employer for these youth apprenticeship, but we do have about 50 employers in general that we're working with across all of our programs.
Thanks, Barbara, for putting that in the chat. And Noemi.
Yes. Any other questions so far? Any information we missed sharing? Thank you, Barbara. I think Barbara is also adding a link to our podcasts.
I don't see any more questions in the chat. So maybe we can give folks some time back in their day, or if you are shy and want to stay on and wait for others to jump off for the last